I wanted to ask the Democrats, you guys just started. You guys just started the last question.
Yeah, we just started.
Gotcha.
No, we started.
Okay, sorry, that's why I was confused. Okay, I'll ask the Republicans. Could you speak about, in our current situation, financial crisis, deficit that continues to be exacerbated, and some analysts say that we are approaching a recession. What would the McCain administration do to sort of mitigate some of the more harmful effects that would occur of all this conglomeration of crises hitting our economy right now? And why is his solution, why do you think his solution is better than anyone else?
I'm very glad you asked that. It allows me to get into a point that I've been wanting to make for a while, and that is the difference between Obama and McCain on their opinions of free trade and free market capitalism. Now, McCain has said several times that some of the excesses that allowed Wall Street to get drunk, so to speak, are regrettable. And those excesses go back far beyond George Bush. They go back to Clinton and arguably even to Jimmy Carter. Under Clinton, the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act essentially reversed Glass-Steagall, which allowed investment banks and commercial banks to merge. So it could be said, and I would argue, that Clinton effectively laid an economic trap for the Republicans. To say that because the economic crisis that we're in right now has occurred under George Bush's watch, and therefore the Republicans should be held accountable, is completely ridiculous. You see, Mr. McCain has proposed increased tax cuts and subsidies for businesses. Now what this does is it creates it greases the gears of capitalism, so to speak. It allows banks to loan to each other. It allows businesses to invest in infrastructure and meet their payrolls. Okay. What Obama proposes is completely opposite. I'd like to get into, when I have a little more time, how Obama proposes cutting a lot more tax, or increasing taxes on a lot more American citizens than he actually admits. But right now I'll talk about how Obama really wants to take away the investments that businesses have made in their efficiency and redistribute it amongst the poorer citizens of the United States. The way he proposes doing this is raising the capital gains tax. How, tell me, in a recession, when businesses are going under, when entire banks like Bear Stearns, Lehman Brothers, okay, Citigroup, are either completely illiquid or evaporating, how, tell me, is raising the capital gains tax going to encourage investment in infrastructure? It's not. It's going to do exactly the opposite. Obama will tell you that he's going to only raise taxes on the top 5% of all Americans. But if you look at his voting record, he has encouraged and voted for raising taxes on people who make as little as $32,000 a year, and some people say $61,000 a year. Okay. Again, nailing his policy to the wall is kind of like nailing jelly to the wall, but we get the general picture. This is not a pro-business, pro-capitalist person. This is the type of man who's going to limit the efficiency of businesses. Am I done?
Yes.
Well, obviously this economic crisis has a lot of Americans frightened, and so we need to have two plans essentially, and that's what Obama's proposing, is a short-term plan and a long-term plan. In the short term, we need to provide immediate relief to Americans who are struggling to hold on to their homes. We're going to create a foreclosure prevention fund to help working families prevent them from losing their homes. We're going to extend unemployment insurance, which just recently the Republicans voted against. And there's a whole, this comes as part of the whole second economic stimulus package that Ben Bernanke has endorsed, the head of the Federal Reserve. We're going to give tax initiatives to small businesses to help create jobs. We're going to cut taxes for 95% of Americans. That's not a joke. That's not a lie. That's what they're committed to doing. This business about Obama voting to raise taxes on people while he was in Congress, it is absurd. It's just a complete distortion of the vote. That would put money in the hands of Americans. He also has now a plan to eliminate taxes on seniors making less than $50,000, and it's just, I want to clear up a few things here. When we talk about the economic crisis here, and we talk about the Clinton administration, talk about Gramm-Leach-Bliley. Who's Graham Leach Bliley? That's, well, the first name of that is Phil Gramm. Phil Gramm is a senator from Texas and a former banking executive who until recently was the head of McCain's economic policy. What did he have to say about the economic crisis? That America was a nation of whiners, that we were in a mental recession, okay? That we need more deregulation. As recently as March, McCain called himself the deregulator. Again, this is the party of less government rules, less government regulation, and less government working on behalf of the middle class and most Americans. To give them, yes, to give tax subsidies where they're needed, but also to invest in infrastructure that will create new jobs. We have $25 billion investment in that, and help small businesses and help people cover healthcare costs. These are basic bread and butter needs of most working Americans, and their thing is grease the skids more for business. Well, we did that 8 years ago. We know where it got us. It hasn't really helped the economy in the long run. It just gets business greedy. And frankly, look at what AIG did with their $85 billion check from the federal government. They spent $400,000 of that on a nice little retreat. So, if anything, it's the top 1% of the country that maybe hasn't been giving their share. We've got an $8 trillion debt, and we can't pay for it alone. The McCain plan is completely unrealistic. Obama's plan is for tax relief for most Americans, investing in services that will provide relief right now, and building jobs for the future.
Thank you. Would you guys like to rebut that? Yes. You guys have one more rebuttal?
Yeah.
This is the last rebuttal you have. Yeah, 1 minute.
I would like to rebut the scandalous and completely untrue assertion that Barack Obama and my friend Daniel Marins has just made, that Barack Obama is only going to raise taxes on the top 5% of Americans. First of all, let's talk about Barack Obama. It's my turn? You go your turn. First of all, I'd like to talk about how Barack Obama is a liar, okay? I'd like to read from The Economist, my personal Bible, the October 11th edition. Fact checkers quibble that according to his written plans, it really means 95% of Americans, families with children, not 95% of Americans. But his real sleight of hand is to count handouts administered to the tax code as tax cuts. You might think that a tax cut means keeping more of what you earn. But when Mr. Obama uses the phrase, however, it can also mean being given a chunk of money that somebody else has earned. That is textbook socialism. That is Karl Marx's first tenet. He calls it his 10 planks in the Communist Manifesto. That is his first one. Income redistribution, my friend.
He wants to spread the wealth around. This is to quote Obama himself.
Thank you.
Which we know and love.
Would you guys like to rebut, or?
We only have one left, or
We'll
go
say
ahead
that.
any kind of response.
Okay, well, we're going to repose the question now,
Okay.
because while both of you had really nice answers to that, no one actually answered Dan's question so quickly.